Hello students, this video is basically for class 7th, chapter 9, that is soil or natural resource. So let's start this chapter. So first of all, as we start this chapter, the first word that comes from that we see is basically soil. So what is soil? As you know that the surface of earth is basically divided into three layers: crust, mantle and core. So to be more specifically, soil is, you can say, is the topmost layer of the crust, right? Is the topmost layer where all the human activities that we see around us is occurring, right? So that's why we consider soil is an important resource. Basically, ultimately, directly or indirectly, we are dependent on this thing only, right? Next comes the formation of soil. As far as the formation of soil is concerned, then we should be clear with the concept of weathering. What basically is weathering? It is nothing but the process of breaking down of rocks or the other materials into smaller particles, or you can see powdered form, right? And it is basically taking place with the help of some natural forces. What are the natural forces? They are basically your air, water, wind, temperature, right? And the forces which are responsible for the weathering, you can say, are basically the nothing but the weathering agents. So as far as the weathering process is concerned, it is simple. You can understand, like, if a large piece of rock is there, and if there is a rain is occurring in a particular area and the rock is lying in that area, then through the surfaces that water will enter, and due to the change in the temperature, when the cold temperature will be there, this water will get frozen up, and cause of this formation of ice inside the surfaces of the rock, there will be a force from the inside, and ultimately resulting in the rupturing of the rock. Right. Similarly, the plant growth also is also an important factor which is responsible for the weathering. Now, as far as the composition of soil is concerned, basically soil contains different type of minerals, as far like you can see sulfates, nitrates, and phosphates. Right. So basically, they are present in the primary rock from which basically the soil formation takes place. That is called as the parent rock. So the richness of a specific nutrient in a soil is responsible is dependent upon the factor that the parent rock was depending upon which factors. Now moving on, the very important topic comes, that is your soil profile. So we can understand that the soil profile, but before that we have to understand the meaning of horizon, right? So what if you see horizontally, the soil is divided into multiple number of layers, like your so individually those layers are called as horizons. So like starting from the top, this is called as O horizon, A horizon, then we have B horizon, then we have E horizon, then C horizon, and bedrock. So each layer is specifically called as a horizon, and altogether these vertically all these horizons will be called as a soil profile. Now getting into the depth of each and every horizon, so first layer that we see is the O horizon. It is not present in all the places, and basically it is rich in humus, right? Next is your A horizon, also known as the topsoil, is the one of the horizon which is the richest in as far as the percentage of humus is concerned, and ultimately making a soil fertile or non-fertile. Then comes the क्या कहते हैं आपका E horizon. It is nothing but the intersection between the A and B horizon, right? It's just a minute layer which is you can say which does a temporary sort of demarcation between the A and B horizon. Then we have the B horizon, which is also called as the subsoil. You can say it is a rich in different type of minerals cause of the percolation that takes place, and the water goes through the different layers, so the minerals get stuck in this B horizon, right? And then we have the C horizon. Basically the groundwater, that the water that percolates will settle down at a particular layer, so it is settles in C horizon, right? It consists of basically broken rocks, right? And the last is your parent rock, that is called as a bedrock or the R horizon. Now we have the next topic, that is the types of soil. So basically the classification of soil is done on the basis of two factors, right? The two factors that involves in the classification of different types of soils are the size of particles and also the percentage composition. So first of all, if a soil is having more amount of sand particles, and the particles of size is bigger, that is sand particles are quite bigger in size, then we say that the soil is of sandy nature, and they are responsible for trapping the air inside the soil. They have a very poor water holding capacity. And now if the soil is rich in clay or clay particles, right, then we say that the soil is basically clayey in nature, and it is having a very good water holding capacity, right? Then the loamy soil is considered as a mixture which contains both your sand and clay, and basically amount of silt and humus also is present. This is a definite amount of silt and humus also is present, and making it fertile, because as far as sandy soil is concerned, because of its poor water holding capacity, it is not suitable, right? Similarly, if as far as the clay soil is concerned, because of the presence of too much of moisture, you can say, it is again not fertile, right? So both the factors, like as far as the water and air are concerned, both should be present in sufficient amount, and that is present in the loamy soil, and that is why in Indo-Gangetic plains in North India, right, we find this loamy soil only. Now there are three properties of soil that we have to understand. First is your texture. Texture is basically can be defined as a smoothness or roughness that you feel when you touch a particular soil particles. So we all know that sand particles are quite rough, or you can say coarse in nature. As far as the clay particles being smaller in size, they are very smooth and soft. And loamy will be in between as compared to the roughnesses or texture is concerned, right? Then we have the percolation rate. Rate is nothing. It is defined as the rate of water that flows through them. So it will be highest for sandy soil because of its poor water holding capacity. It will be greatest if percolation rate will be highest for sandy soil because of the water that percolates at a very higher rate. It will be lowest for clay soil because the amount of water that percolates through the clay soil is very very less, because water get trapped between the particle size. Then the last we have the loamy soil is again in between the sandy soil and the clay soil. Then comes the property of moisture content. Moisture content is nothing but the amount of water which is present inside or is basically trapped inside the soil particles. So we can say that moisture content will be more in your clay soil, and it will be least in your sandy soil. Now next comes organisms. Like as far as we can understand, there are different type of bacteria. We all know that, but basically that is soil is a home of decomposers. Like when we'll be going into higher classes, then we'll be understanding about the different type of microorganisms which are present inside the soil, like algae, fungi, protozoa and bacteria, right? And we'll be studying about the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, and apart from that, we can see a vast variety of insects which are trapped, which ultimately help the soil to become more and more fertile. Now comes the next topic, that is the soil and crops. So now you can understand if each soil is having a different type of property, then depending upon those property, the crops that are to be grown in that specific type of soil, it also varies. For example, as clay is responsible for holding too much of water, so basically we can say that it is ideal for the growth of rice, right? Reason being it requires a lot of water, right? Similarly, as far as cotton and this thing is concerned, it is basically grown in too much of where basically black soil is found, and black soil doesn't have too much of water or moisture content, and this cotton also doesn't require too much of water. So basically the properties of the particular crop that has to be grown and the properties of the soil should match, and depending upon that we select which particular crop has to be grown in a particular area. Now comes the next topic, that is soil erosion. Soil erosion is nothing but the removal of the topmost layer, you can say basically the removal of O horizon, right? It might be caused by the wind or by the water or by the waves, right? So as far as natural reasons are concerned, it is not occurring at that fast rate, much faster rate, but human activities are primarily responsible for the cause of soil erosion. The primary reason being the deforestation, that is the cutting of trees on a very very large scale, right? And then we have soil pollution. Soil pollution is basically the disturbing the composition of soil, right? And again you can say the use of too much of fertilizers, right? Segregating, or you can say dumping of too much of factorial or industrial waste in a particular area.